So, that was, pretty bad yesterday, eh? It's kind of funny, because Detroit losing to the Montreal Canadiens 5-1 at their home opener, obviously that was not the plan. Nobody wanted to see Detroit do that. I guess except for Montreal Canadiens fans, which is kind of why yesterday's video was so weird, because it's like, yeah, Habs are my second favorite team, Detroit's my third. I want both these teams to succeed. If anything, I'd prefer an overtime or a shootout win, 5-5, after Demidov, DeBrincat, Slavkovsky, and Patrick Kane get themselves hat tricks. That would have been my perfect version of the game, but we can't get what we want sometimes now, can't we? But, of course, there had to have been some sort of a positive angle from yesterday's post-game video, because a good chunk of the fan base on this YouTube channel happens to be Habs fans. But when it comes to those Detroit Red Wings fans, obviously, this was a stinker of a game. 5-1, you don't want to see that ever go down. However, if you take a look at MoneyPuck.com and their odds as to how everything went in yesterday's contest, I mean, based off of the MoneyPuck's deserve to win-o-meter, the Detroit Red Wings should have won this game 73%. They had the majority of the shots, the high-danger chances, and they just didn't find a way to beat Jakub Dobeš. That's it, plain and simple. The Detroit Red Wings had 3.24 expected goals against the Montreal Canadiens, and the Habs had 1.94. A lot of these chances that the Habs ended up scoring weren't necessarily high-danger opportunities, and the Detroit Red Wings were getting stoned by Jakub Dobeš. And when I say the Detroit Red Wings were getting stoned by Dobeš, I mean Alex DeBrincat was getting stoned by Jakub Dobeš. He had a .68 expected goals in yesterday's contest. It was ridiculous. This is why, for me personally, tomorrow I am making the potentially ill-informed and stupid decision to run DeBrincat, Raymond, and Patrick Kane on my fantasy roster because, hey, tomorrow every NHL team is playing. Whoop-de-doo. Kind of crazy how that's going to go down and how 0 teams are playing today on Friday. So ridiculous how the NHL wants to have these crazy days where every team is playing. Like, just shut up, guys. Just give us normal days where games are being played. It's the 4th day of the regular season. Why are you already shutting everybody out with 0 games on tap? And then on Sunday, it's like, oh, there's only 1 game, New York and Washington. Like, yeah, prepare everybody for a weekend where every NHL team plays on a Saturday and surround that with 0 games and 1 game on the Friday and Sunday. Anyways, yeah, all fantasy jokes aside, what is interesting about the way things went yesterday is depicted on the Montreal Canadiens and Detroit Red Wings game stat card, with statistics compiled from Natural Stat Trick. Take a look at this. In yesterday's 5-1 defeat at the hands of the Montreal Canadiens, the best Red Wing was Dylan Larkin. Second best was Simon Edvinsson. And third best was Axel Sandin-Pellikka. The worst Red Wing, by far, was Travis Hamonic. Second worst was Albert Johansson, too. It's actually kind of funny because the majority of the Red Wings were above 50%. They were better than average, but Hamonic and Johansson were so bad that it dragged the Red Wings down so much. John Gibson, as we had said in yesterday's post-game video, it's not like he was solely responsible for all 5 goals that went in. You definitely don't want to see him let in 5 goals on, 13 shots against or whatever. He definitely could have made a few more saves, but he was not getting helped out at all by his defense. And when it comes to the biggest culprit, I wanted to give a big shout out over to Travis Hamonic for being literally the worst Detroit Red Wing on the ice yesterday. And I can't say I'm too surprised, honestly. Coming from someone who had seen Travis Hamonic in a Vancouver Canucks sweater for a little while a few years ago, I remember making a video about how this guy got traded to Ottawa outside a Denny's in the rain. If I remember correctly, this was one of the very first trades that Patrick Allvin made as the the GM of the Vancouver Canucks. And it was this selling move of Travis Hamonic getting sent over to Ottawa. And I was so happy about that I had to step out of eating breakfast to go out there and talk about it. Now, Hamonic stunk. And in Ottawa, he kind of stunk even more. Sure, he had some production, but it wasn't great. And now, playing for the Detroit Red Wings, his first game after being signed as a free agent, he ends up getting a -3 on the night. He is the worst Red Wing by far. You can say that his defensive contribution to the team was so bad that it gave the team the loss. And I'm sitting here saying, yeah, I told you so. Like, Stevie Y, imagine that, you got somebody who's worse than Justin Hall. But, on the other hand, even though Travis Hamonic was total cheeks in yesterday's contest, you know who was pretty good? You know who actually had some realistically positive things to talk about? Axel Sandin-Pellikka, who was listed as one of the best Detroit Red Wings skaters in yesterday's contest. And what's even more impressive is the fact where on a night where the Red Wings lost 5-1, Axel Sandin-Pellikka was a 0 in terms of his plus-minus. Sherratt and Seider were -1s, Hamonic and Johansson were -3s, Edvinsson and Sandin-Pellikka were 0s. And Axel Sandin-Pellikka was a 0 in 22 minutes and 34 time on ice. They trusted him. They gave him a role in the team that was quite important. He didn't produce, like he didn't get any points, but he didn't let up any goals either, comparative to the rest of the pairings here. And I'm starting to slowly come around to the idea that Axel Sandin-Pellikka, one of the hyphen boys in the Detroit Red Wings, is actually pretty ready to be an NHL contributor. You know what's kind of funny? In yesterday's broadcast, I was watching the TSN broadcast. I know I'm regionally blacked out here in Vancouver, but I found other ways to get the broadcast on my computer screen. And the commentator for the Montreal Canadiens was going out there and saying, oh, look at Axel Sandin-Pellikka. He makes such smart plays and good reads. He'll have a long NHL career to come because he's so poised. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. That's a pretty good thing to say about ASP. But then the Montreal Canadiens commentator on the TSN broadcast said, Sandin-Pellikka is not flashy. He just makes the right play every time. And I was like, wait, what? No, you have absolutely the wrong idea of this guy in your head. Axel Sandin-Pellikka is indeed flashy. He is one of the flashiest defenseman prospects in the sport. And if you had just watched a little bit of what he did in Sweden, you'd be looking at this guy saying, yeah, he is anything but not flashy. I'd go out there so far as to say that Axel Sandin-Pellikka has that potential to walk a blue line in the same way that Lane Hutson can. And I know Canadiens fans who stumble upon this video will go out there and say, Lego, what are you doing? You're hyperbolizing these prospects here. But that's not a new thing. I've said the fact that Axel Sandin-Pellikka looks like somebody who can territorially control the power play in the same way a Hutson, a Hughes, or a Cale Makar can. And so when I watched the Montreal TSN broadcaster yesterday say that Sandin-Pellikka is not flashy and he just does the right decision, like speaking about this guy as if he's a poised, mobile shutdown D who can break the puck out, like, no, that's absolutely not the game that he plays. Maybe that's the game he played yesterday. He didn't get any points. He wasn't on the ice for any even strength goals for, which is fine. But the fact that the Detroit Red Wings trusted this guy and quickly put him above some of the other more veteran-like names in the lineup, I think it's a pretty good sign. He's been improving a lot since the preseason began a few weeks ago, and now I can comfortably say that Axel Sandin-Pellikka is one of the best defensemen the Red Wings have on their team today in 2025-2026. So you can let me know your thoughts in the comments if you agree with that, disagree. If you liked this video, feel free to hit the like button. If you didn't, the dislike button's down there for you too. Comments help out with the algorithm, so I hope you would get involved there. I'd really appreciate it. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on, and bye.